Yes, I'm the right.
Oopsie, sorry. We all set?
One more minute.
Okay.
Really quickly, just a gentle reminder to please silence any devices you've got. Right.
Okay.
Beds up here.
Can I run
Thank
to
you.
my phone? Thanks so much.
All set? All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today to talk about paid leave. So I was appointed to this role of Commissioner of Deed in June of 2023 by Governor Walz. And not long after I arrived in this building, our headquarters of Deed, another thing arrived here in the building, and that was a countdown timer on the desk of Deputy Commissioner Evan Rowe, who's right behind you. And the countdown was set to elapse on January 1st, 2026, because of course that is the exciting launch date of this new paid family medical leave program for Minnesota, or as we now call it for simplicity, just paid leave. So that is a timer that we watched very carefully. It started with something like 900 odd days on it. And I'm proud to say that this department has used all those days and all those hours very effectively in preparing to launch this program successfully and follow the governor's direction to make this the best paid leave program in the country. In fact, I'm proud to say that we feel we have done that, and I mean that in a number of senses. Number one, we want to make sure this program is very accessible and easy to use for workers. It's a very important benefit so that folks can make time for the moments that matter. We want it to be simple and accessible. Secondly, we want it to be transparent and efficient for employers. So employers have their own portal through which they can see on a website who on their team have applied. They can report to us if there are any concerns about discrepancies in the information that they are seeing versus what they know to be true. And that for us is an integrity assurance factor. And that's really the third way in which I think this is going to be the best program in the country, namely that we have built in program integrity measures to ensure that we are preventing fraud on the front end and making sure that all the dollars that are coming into the program are being spent on the purposes as intended. So the final way, I guess, that we feel like we're building the best program in the country is that we have done this in an incremental fashion where we are building up to the launch, not with one big bang at once, but rather we started with a beta launch, which I think was in late November, in which parents who had welcomed a child in 2025 under the law have the flexibility to apply early, and we did that only for a small number of employers initially to test our systems and to see how it was working for customers. Then we moved on to the soft launch, which the governor announced at Marty's Deli a while ago, where all Minnesota parents who welcomed a child in 2025 were able to apply. That was great for them because it gave the opportunity to plan ahead and begin to find out whether you're going to be approved for leave or not, giving their employers a chance to plan, and also giving us a chance to test our systems and make sure that everything was working properly. So that has led us up to today, and the big news that we don't actually have to wait for Evan's countdown timer to reach 0. We will not be waiting for the ball to drop in in Times Square on New Year's Eve, because I'm proud to say that paid leave is open now, and we invite people to apply starting tomorrow because we are ready based on all those steps that I've already mentioned. This is a very exciting development for us, something we've been building towards for a long time. But I will acknowledge that I am a relative latecomer to this paid leave effort. And so my excitement probably pales in comparison to some of the folks that have been working on this for years and even decades. And we have some of them with us today, and I wanted to invite them to share some of their thoughts about why paid leave is so important. And I wanted to start with Bernie Burnham, a friend of mine who is the president of the Minnesota AFL-CIO, one of our greatest advocates for workers in Minnesota. Bernie?
Commissioner Verlick. All right, so as you heard, my name is Bernie Burnham, and I'm the president of the Minnesota AFL-CIO, the federation of more than 1,000 local unions who collectively represent over 300,000 working people in every corner of our great state. On Thursday, or I guess Wednesday, Minnesota will take an enormous step toward becoming the best state for working people when paid leave becomes available for nearly every working Minnesotan. Having the freedom to care for ourselves and the people we love without sacrificing a paycheck is going to be a great game changer for workers and families. As co-chair of Minnesotans for Paid Family and Medical Leave, we are excited to see more than a decade of advocacy from workers, small business owners, people of faith, and advocacy organizations finally come to fruition. We only wish that Speaker Emeritus Melissa Hortman and Senator Kerry Dietzig, whose leadership was vital in getting this legislation to Governor Walz's desk, were here to celebrate with us. Thanks to the power of collective bargaining, many of our state's unionized workers already have paid leave policies in their contracts. However, there are many others who will have access to paid leave for the very first time. In addition to the direct benefit of a state-administered paid leave program, Minnesota's unionized workers will have greater strength at the negotiating table in 2026 and beyond. With paid leave taken care of, unionized workers will be able to put a greater focus on wages, health care, staffing, and more when it comes time to negotiate their union contracts. This is what good government looks like. When Minnesotans speak up, organize, and stay committed, the results are real. Starting Thursday but Wednesday, paid leave is no longer a privilege, it's a promise Minnesota is keeping. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernie.
Yes.
Yeah, with the exciting news that we're ahead of schedule, we're messing up the talking points, but we're excited about that. Thank you so much, Bernie. Next, Children's Defense Fund, again, has been one of the most steadfast supporters of this program, helping to make the case on how a paid leave program benefits families, benefits children, and we have with us Alex Fitzsimmons to talk about that.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the quiet hours of the night when the world is still and snow plows are rumbling through the streets, parents and caregivers are awake, rocking newborns, listening to tiny breaths, whispering reassurances, and praying. These are the moments when families are formed and when a child's sense of safety begins. Paid family and medical leave will help ensure that parents and caregivers are able to be present for these moments. The first weeks and months of a child's life are not just another stage, they are a foundation. From the third trimester through a baby's first year, the brain develops at an extraordinary pace, forming millions of neural connections every second as the architecture of emotional, social, and cognitive growth is built. During this time, consistent, responsive caregiving through touch, voice, and presence helps wire the brain for security, resilience, and lifelong development. This is when parents need time too. Time to care, time to heal, to bond, and to grow into their new role as a mom, as a dad, as a caregiver. Paid family and medical leave is about protecting that time. This program allows parents to nurse their babies, change diapers, soothe colic, read stories, sing songs, and respond to those coos and those giggles and those cries without fear of financial crisis or losing a job they love. When parents and caregivers return to work after taking paid leave, they feel more connected to their children and more confident in their parenting because they had that crucial time to bond, nurture, and support their child's early development. Paid leave improves child outcomes in measurable ways. Infants whose parents take paid leave are more likely to be born full term and at a healthy birth weight. Paid leave reduces parental stress and postpartum depression. And mothers who take paid leave are twice as likely to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months. Yet access to paid leave in Minnesota has not been equal. Nearly 2/3 of mothers previously took unpaid leave, and low-income families and families of color were far less likely to receive paid leave. White mothers, on average, were able to take almost twice as much leave after childbirth as Black mothers, Indigenous mothers, and mothers from other communities of color. These disparities contribute to stark racial inequities in our state. Black and Indigenous babies in Minnesota die at more than twice the rate of white babies. And Black and Indigenous mothers are far more likely to experience pregnancy-related complications and maternal mortality. These disparities are not just statistics. They are real babies and real mothers and real families. Minnesota's paid family and medical leave program offers a proven solution to these grave risks and inequities, giving every parent the time, support, and security they need to care for their babies and themselves during these precious early months. This program is universal, covering workers across industries, income levels, and job types. It provides partial wage replacement so families can afford to take time off, and job protections so parents can return to work without the fear of losing their livelihoods. Paid leave ensures all families, no matter their race, income, or job type, can be present for the first coos and cries, the first smiles and tummy times, and the first sibling interactions that follow birth. This is a powerful evidence-based program, a powerful step forward to a Minnesota where every baby has the opportunity to grow up healthy, safe, and loved. Healthy and happy babies, connected parents and caregivers, strong and stable families, and a more equitable and fair Minnesota. That is what paid family leave will make possible. Thank you.
I'm tempted to applaud, but I guess we don't have an audience for that. Thank you so much. Wonderful words about the breadth of the program and the many people that this will benefit who haven't had access in the past. It is also relevant to Minnesotans of all ages, and we are excited now to have with us Toni Manskow from AARP to share some of her thoughts about the program.
I have to say I'm really excited because I've been working on this issue for 10 years. So today we stand here united in gratitude, in hope, and in celebration of a tremendous victory for families across our great state. So as mentioned, my name is Toni K. Manskow, and I'm here on behalf of AARP to express my deepest thanks to Governor Walz and his staff, to the brave elected officials who stood with us, and to every single person who believed in the power of family and the essential role of caregiving. As someone who has personally cared for many family members, my parents, a developmentally disabled brother, 2 children with significant health issues that began in their teens, and 2 of my grandchildren, I know just how difficult it is to balance work and caregiving. It is a challenge I share with so many others, and one that has often come at a great personal and financial cost. My first struggle with caregiving was leaving my teenage son at home. He was bedridden due to his disease, and hoping that he wouldn't need something while I was at work. I had to work to keep a roof over our head, food in the fridge, and gas in our car. During this time, my daughter was struggling with mental health and substance use issues. She was in and out of multiple treatment centers and would go on to have a couple of children that I cared for through the years. As years went by, my father would be diagnosed with end-stage heart and lung disease, and my mom with cancer. During this time, I became co-guardian for my developmentally disabled brother. There were numerous times that they were hospitalized, they needed to get to appointments, they had to have help setting up their medications, trying to figure out the insurance issues, and help with everyday chores around their home. I was exhausted as I was working full-time. My role as a family caregiver was a financial strain. During a 9-month period in the year 2017, I went without 1/3 of my income due to unpaid time off. I've had to file for bankruptcy in the past. In addition to the financial strain, there's also the emotional strain. When my mom was in hospice, my family and I were so burned out trying to juggle work and my figuring out if I could afford to miss work. With all this juggling of work schedules, my mom died alone without family at her bedside. My belief is that if we would have had paid family and medical leave in place, we would have been at her side in her last moments of life. But now, because of this law, the future looks different for families like mine. We can care for our parents, our children, our grandchildren, our siblings, and one another without the fear of losing everything. We can be there in those precious moments, whether it's comforting a parent in hospice or supporting a child in recovery. We no longer have to choose between financial security and the emotional well-being of our families. This victory is not just a win for caregivers. It's a win for Minnesotans. It's a win for every person who believes that family comes first. It's a win for the values we hold dear, which are compassion, responsibility, and the belief that no one should ever have to face a health crisis alone. To Governor Walz and his staff and our state legislators, thank you for your unwavering leadership and for recognizing that families are the heart of our communities. Your commitment to supporting family caregivers has made a profound difference in in the lives of countless Minnesotans. We are grateful for your courage, your vision, and your dedication to making Minnesota a better place for all of us. You stood with us, you fought with us, and you voted for this transformative legislation. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Your courage in the face of opposition, your commitment to doing what's right, and your belief in the importance of family have made this moment possible. You've paved the way for a future where Minnesota families no longer have to choose between their loved ones and their livelihoods. This is a moment of celebration, but it's also a moment of reflection. As we move forward, let us remember that the work is not done. We must continue to support and uplift those who give so much of themselves to care for others. We must continue to advocate for policies that protect and support families, and we must ensure that every Minnesotan, regardless of their background or circumstances, has the resources that they need to thrive. Today is a day of victory, but it's also a day of commitment. Let us commit to ensuring that this law is fully implemented and that every caregiver has the support that they need to be there for their loved ones. Let us commit to creating a future where family caregivers are no longer overlooked. Be celebrated, but they need to be celebrated as the heroes that they are. On behalf of AARP and so many volunteers, thank you. Together, we have made history.
Okay, I can't resist. All right, thank you so much. And with that, we would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Is there anything from, it might be too early to say, is there anything from the soft launch so far that has surprised you, anything you want to tweak? Can you tell more or less people than you expected have applied to it?
So let me first say we are fortunate to have Deputy Commissioner Rowe as well as the Program Director Greg Norfleet with us, and so they are my source of the answers to those questions. And if we wanted to get into more detail, we can certainly turn to them. I would say that we have learned small things related to the technology underlying the program, adjustments that we wanted to make that will improve usability on the part of customers. And in fact, Greg has used the line that we have built this not just for Minnesota, but with Minnesota. We have done tons of outreach, both on the user side in terms of workers and potential leave takers, also with businesses. We've done, I think, a public outreach event with a chamber every business day this year, if I'm not mistaken. And so lots of those insights have gone into the design of the program. In the beta launch and the soft launch, we've learned a few more things about how the system is working, and so we've been able to make adjustments and further enhance the program that way. And then finally, I would say that we are a little bit ahead of pace in terms of the number of applications we thought we would get in December. I see that as a good thing, again, because it means that we are having that opportunity to make sure everything's working well. And also, we know from the experience of other states that the largest share of applications you get on day one is not necessarily people that have a medical incident, but rather that eligibility of parents who had a baby in 2025. And so you can get a lot of load on the system on day one, except that we have shifted some of that load into December via the beta and the soft launch.
Can you just clarify what time the portal will be open and available for Minnesotans to access?
It's open now. We encourage folks to start tomorrow, but if you want to go tonight, you are welcome to do so.
An application could go in right this second.
That's right. Yep. And we have our team of adjudicators that review all the materials that have come in to validate everything and then render a decision one way or the other within a certain period of days.
You talked a little bit about being prepared for folks who might be bad actors wanting to defraud the system. Can you talk about how you are preparing for that and planning ways to sort of root that out before it gets started?
Yeah, I'll start and would invite the team to elaborate if there's anything that I haven't covered. But in fact, Deputy Commissioner Rowe testified in the Fraud Prevention Committee about some of these measures, and they include things like identity verification on the front end through login.mn, where you need to specify who you are, take a selfie, and make sure that you are who you say you are. And then if it is a case of family leave, for example, for a baby, we need a medical validation that a baby has been born to you or that you've welcomed an adopted child into your home. Or if it's a case of medical leave, we need to have documentation from a medical provider to indicate that that's the case, how many caregivers you might need. And then also, we, of course, are proud to be the department that runs unemployment insurance for the state of Minnesota. We do so with very high integrity there. There are national rankings that are done by, I believe, the U.S. Department of Labor, and we're always among the best states in preventing improper payments. So we want to apply those lessons, and the fact that we have that wage detail information means we have additional ways of knowing who works where. And then finally, on the website, just from the employer side, if an employer is seeing that an application has been made and that information in the application does not match what they know to be true, they can let us know so we can investigate. And further, just the public also can go on the website and let us know if they have an allegation of concern. Anything to add, team?
Yeah, I think I would just emphasize Thanks. I would just emphasize every application for paid leave, no matter what type, requires a certification from the appropriate professional provider. Again, as Commissioner Verilak said, for medical leave, or that would be, or for family leave, that would be certification from a healthcare provider for the individual who needs to take leave. For safety leave, it's a bit different, but it's relevant to aspects of domestic violence. Same for military leave. For bonding leave, it requires a birth certificate or other proof of life. So those are, again, I would just emphasize every single application requires certification from an appropriate professional, and we will be carefully reviewing and scrutinizing that information as we make the adjudicatory decisions appropriate for the program.
Is there any numeric estimates on how many Minnesotans will either gain new benefits or improve their benefits with the program?
The figure that I've always worked from is that roughly a quarter of Minnesotans prior to the program had access to a version of paid family and medical leave. Whether they were at the same levels as what this program involves, that I couldn't say. But so, in other words, 3/4 will gain access. In some cases, the companies that were already offering paid leave will go into the state plan. In other cases, they will have opted to stay with a private plan, except that the private plans had to be vetted by, I think it was the Department of Commerce here in Minnesota, our partners there, to ensure that they were at least as generous, and therefore make sure that all Minnesotans have access to that baseline level of benefits.
And that's a quarter of working Minnesotans, not all.
That's
I can.
please, Evan.
I think the figure is 27, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics as of 2023, 27% of American workers had access to a paid family leave program at their place of employ. So again, I think the numbers might be slightly different for medical leave, but for paid family leave, 3/4 of Americans do not have access to a program like that, and that's something that pretty much every Minnesota worker will have access to with the dawn of this program.
I'm wondering if you can talk about verification for maybe some of the more sensitive reasons for leave, sexual assault, stalking, that kind of thing. If someone maybe doesn't want their employer to know about that, I'm wondering sort of how that verification works. And I'm also wondering how much leeway employers might have to say no if they don't see a genuine need.
Yeah, so I'll just answer the last part first and then invite Greg if you want to talk about the safety leave part, because we've done a lot of work with victim groups that has informed our implementation of the program. But when it comes to the employer saying no, that's not something that is within their authority to do. We are the entity given responsibility for reaching the decisions. Employers, though, can give us information if they see something that doesn't seem right, and then we can take that into consideration when we're reaching our conclusion. Greg?
Sure. I appreciate the question on safety leave because it is one that we really need to balance both program integrity alongside sensitivity and confidentiality for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. That process is certified by somebody who is working within the DVSA space. We do have a process online of how this works, and those do go through a level of review with a specialized team within the division. But we do share, for example, that when somebody requests safety leave, we say that they're requesting family leave to their employer. We do notify the employer even in that case, but we tell them that they're using a form of family leave, which is where safety leave would fit. The employer does have the ability to tell us if anything looks wrong, whether that's something like the number of hours that the person actually works or whether or not they've been notified by the program. And we will take that into consideration as part of the adjudication process as well.
Is there a calculus for how much your wages are covered by the state, like income range, or just explain like how much you would actually get in benefits?
I can give you the basic version, and these guys have it all memorized. It's a maximum of the statewide average wage, which I think is on a weekly basis $1,432. You can validate me on that one.
$10, I think.
So that's the cap for any individual, but the actual amount that you will get is on a graduated scale. So for the first portion, you get 90% of your wages. For the next portion, a lesser percentage up to that maximum. But can you elaborate?
Yeah, so as the Commissioner mentioned, it's on a progressive scale. So it's based off of the statewide average weekly wage of $14.23. Wages up to 50% of the statewide are replaced at 90%. Wages between 51 and 100% are replaced at 66%. And then wages above that are replaced at 55% up to the statewide average. And we do have a calculator online that's available to do that math because it's not easy to do in your head.
That's what I was going to ask.
Commissioner, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the timeline of all this. It's been a couple of years that you guys had to put this together. Do you feel that that amount of time is necessary to get this to the point where it's at today? Do you guys feel like you guys could have gotten it done in less time? Do you feel like you need more time? How do you feel about that?
I wanted Greg to have it ready like the day after we hired him, but that wasn't feasible. No, but in all seriousness, again, I want to say a huge appreciation to Evan, who has carried the torch during the legislative debate and the process of kind of shaping the final form that was passed. Thanks so much, of course, to all the legislators on the DFL side who made this possible, and the advocates, and the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor. So then, when the historic 2023 legislative session concluded and it was time to move into implementation, of course, this was one of the first things that Evan and I talked about. And our first hire then was Greg, who had been the number 2 on the Massachusetts program. So we thought it was wise to import that experience from successful program. And I mean, I suppose any task you can sort of accordion in terms of dragging it out or compressing. We feel like we've used all that time effectively. It gave us an opportunity to do all this outreach, to be at the state fair and to be at the Pride Parade and everywhere else that people would talk to us and get their thoughts from Minnesotans on why paid leave is important, to get those insights from chambers of commerce, et cetera, on what questions chambers had or employers had, and then to the extent possible to integrate that into the program we have. And so, whether a little more time or less time would have been appropriate, hard to say, but we're just happy to have used the time we had effectively.
Are you hearing any qualms from business owners as they get ready for this launch?
Certainly, throughout the course of the debate about whether to have this program and then on implementation, there are always going to be a wide range of views on it. We appreciate, though, that folks have been very constructive about engaging with us and giving us ideas we can use. So one of the first ones that I've often talked about is the notion that we are already collecting at this department wage detail information for purposes of the unemployment insurance program. It would have been a drag if we had had to collect something separately that was almost the same for use in paid leave, but instead, luckily, Greg and Evan worked together with Jim Hegman on our unemployment insurance team and determined we can use the very same wage detail information and save businesses having to do something redundantly. Likewise, the notion of the administrator portal, so that business owners or employers can see if someone from their team has applied. They have an opportunity, I think it's a week, to respond and give us any information that they have. And it's required for the applicant for leave to advise their employer that they have done so. There was some concern about that early on, and we had the latitude to make sure that that was the case so that people are communicating to an appropriate degree.
Kind of a two-part question here. Do you guys have a process or plan on how you're going to be communicating with the legislature on any tweaks to the program that, as this is implemented, you guys are like, oh, this would be a good idea to kind of get this thing on board, just the standard committee hearings? And then the second part of that would be, is there anything at this stage that you guys are going to be going to the legislature with in February to, pitch, hey, maybe we should look into this a little bit?
I think we will basically follow the typical process for legislative oversight and potential adjustments. You won't be surprised to know that we get a lot of questions from legislators under current circumstances, and we are happy to answer those and appreciate that we've had great support from advocates of the program in making this an implementable version of the program. That's another way that I think we're fortunate to have the best program in the country is that it wasn't the case that the legislative advocates just built what they thought would be the perfect thing without asking those that have responsibility for delivering it. Rather, it was a two-way dialogue, and we were able to tell them, this is going to be hard to implement. This would be a useful tweak. And so ultimately, that's how we ended up with what we think is a very effective program.
Just to clarify on the second part of that question, does that say, like, we'll kind of have to see if there's going to be anything to go to legislature with in February to...
That's right. I don't have a list at this moment of things that I would be asking for.
Can one of you provide a sense of context around how expansive Minnesota's program is going to be compared to other states that have adopted paid leave or are going to launch also this week?
Yeah, I would invite the team to comment on that because they're in touch often with the other states.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think I would say that Minnesota's program is definitely all the state programs are variations on a theme overall, right? They all pay benefits. They all replace a certain percentage of income. They all, I think pretty much all of them have job protections, right? I think Minnesota's program overall is very strong in terms of having a progressive income replacement. One challenge that you do see in some states is that the percentage, where you don't have a graduated income replacement percentage, it can make it hard for low-income folks to take leave. Whereas I think the design of Minnesota's program is intentional around making it affordable for folks on lower incomes to be able to take leave in these moments that matter, because it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. If you are ill, you deserve care and you deserve to have that time to be able to recover. I think overall number of weeks, again, for one type of leave, 12 is pretty standard around the country. The combined total it's not the highest, it's not the lowest in the country. And I would say overall job protections are similar to other states. Again, there's 50 different dials you could kind of look at overall, and overall I'd say most programs are more similar than they are different. Oh, sure. Evan Rowe, EvanRowe. Thanks.
Anybody else? Or for our advocates?
Did you have to fix the clock?
I've kept the clock as it is. We'll see. If there might be a certain program director might get a baseball bat.